10-Minute Murder contains depictions of actual crimes. What you are about to hear is real and violent in nature. Discretion is advised. This is 10-Minute Murder.
Welcome to the brief and bingeable true crime podcast, 10-Minute Murder. My name is Joe, the host, and thank you for being here. Before we get going today, look at where you're listening right now, and be sure you are subscribed to the podcast. When you subscribe, you get all the episodes right after I complete them, with no delay. If you are subscribed and enjoy the podcast, find 10-Minute Murder and connect with me on social media. Now, let's get to today's story. Colleen Ritzer was a 24-year-old high school teacher, fresh out of college, with a passion so strong for educating and ensuring the success of her students that she often stayed after school with the ones that needed her, the ones that needed extra help. On October 22nd, 2013, one of those students violently attacked her, raped her, and left her murdered in the woods. Let me explain how this all happened. Danvers High School is a public school located in Danvers, Massachusetts. Its student enrollment for 9th through 12th grade is usually just under 1,000. The teacher-to-student ratio at Danvers is much smaller than average, at 13 students for every teacher, so that gives them the ability to focus more time and energy on each student. More one-on-one time means a better understanding of the material, and usually better grades. Colleen Ritzer was a math teacher in her second year of teaching and her second year at Danvers. Ms. Ritzer often spent time after school in her classroom offering help to any student in need. Her openness, friendly nature, and devotion made Colleen very popular with both students and faculty. Just a couple months into the new school year, she was getting to know many of the students as they were all looking forward to Halloween. Philip Chisholm, a new student to Danvers and new to Massachusetts, had recently moved from Clarksville, Tennessee with his mother, still reeling from a messy divorce. He excelled at soccer, but not so much with math. In class, Miss Ritzer noticed that Philip wasn't really paying attention and busied himself with drawing in his algebra workbook. Realizing that he was probably lost and too shy to ask for help, on October 22nd, 2013, she asked him if he could stay after school ended that day, and she'd be happy to help him understand what they were all working on. She also complimented him on how talented of an artist he was. At one point in the conversation, she mentioned Tennessee, and Chisholm became visibly upset. She noticed and quickly changed the subject. He told her that he could stay after. That day, when school ended, Miss Ritzer walked to the restroom before meeting Philip Chisholm for tutoring. Philip saw where she was headed and followed her. School cameras showed that at 2:54 p.m., she entered the restroom. 1 minute later, Chisholm entered, wearing gloves and his hoodie pulled over his head. At 3:06 p.m., a female student entered the restroom and quickly left. Seeing a pile of clothes on the floor and the backside of someone naked, she thought someone was in there changing. 1 minute after that, Chisholm left the restroom. During the next several minutes, he's seen on camera entering and exiting the school a couple of times, changing clothes, putting on a ski mask, and he drug a recycling bin into the bathroom to move her to another location to finish what he was doing before being interrupted. That day, Philip Chisholm came to school with extra changes of clothes, a box cutter, gloves, and a ski mask. Attacking Miss Ritzer wasn't done on a whim. He was prepared. In that second-floor girl's restroom, he strangled her, raped her, and cut her. But she wasn't dead yet. At 3:22 p.m., he wheeled the recycled bin to the elevator, then out to the student parking lot. At 3:30, a mother of a student saw Chisholm running away from the school. At 6 p.m., she reported that information to the principal. At 9 p.m., a mass email was sent out to school staff, reporting Chisholm as missing. Shortly after that email, another teacher at Danvers called the principal and told her that the parents of Colleen Ritzer hadn't seen their daughter and haven't heard from her, which was very unlike her. They went to the school and saw her car still in the parking lot, but they couldn't find her inside anywhere. Police pinged her cell phone, and its location was close to the middle school, a very short distance away. While that was all happening, in a neighboring town, police came upon Philip Chisholm walking alone on the road. They patted him down and found a knife that he had shoplifted from BJ's Wholesale Club after the attack. In his backpack, a bloody box cutter. They asked him where the blood came from, and he said, the girl. He was also carrying the credit cards and ID of Colleen Ritzer, along with a pair of women's panties. He said he picked all that up in the parking lot of a gas station. Later, he changed his story and said he got them out of her car. Philip was taken into custody. Where was he during the time after the murder and before being arrested? He used Colleen's credit card to see a movie. In the early morning hours of October 23rd, Miss Ritzer's body was found during a search of the school grounds in an adjacent wooded area. She was on her back, partially covered by leaves and debris, naked from the waist down, and her shirt pulled up. She had been raped with a stick. Her throat was cut, so deep that it nicked her vertebrae. It was determined that she died in the woods where she was found. The recycle bin was found 20 yards away, along with extra clothes and the blood-soaked gloves Chisholm had worn. Beside Colleen Ritzer's body was a piece of notebook paper folded in half that read, "I hate you all." On November 21st, 2013, Chisholm was indicted on charges of murder, aggravated rape, and armed robbery. Chisholm was charged as an adult, and on December 15th, 2015, a jury found him guilty of first-degree murder, aggravated rape, and armed robbery. The judge read a statement as he sentenced Philip Chisholm to 40 years in prison.
The defendant was quiet, polite, athletic, and had no prior criminal record. Then, on October 22nd, 2013, he carefully and deliberately prepared to kill his math teacher. The school day ended at 1:55 p.m. But Colleen Ritzer, like thousands of other conscientious teachers, was not done with her workday. As was her practice, she stayed after school to make herself available for students who needed academic help, or just as student Autumn Cianci did that day, to spend time in her classroom seeking calmness in the midst of adolescence. Colleen Ritzer's practice was to arrive home late in the afternoon, chat with her mother, and then get to work planning for the next day's classes. Colleen Ritzer's mother testified so poignantly about how her daughter would come home and walk into her mom's home office and ask about her day, anxious for her turn to tell her mother about her own wonderful day preparing children for the world. There would be no mother-daughter chat that Tuesday afternoon. While Colleen's mother waited for her loving daughter, the defendant violently raped Colleen Ritzer. He viciously, brutally, and senselessly attacked Colleen in the girls' bathroom, just feet from the classroom, where she was in her second year of living her dream of being a teacher. When the defendant was finished in the bathroom, he put Colleen Ritzer inside a recycle bin, wheeled her to the woods, and pulled up her shirt, exposing her breasts. Thereafter, he spread her legs and inserted a large tree branch inside her. Colleen Ritzer was found dead hours later, after a frantic search by law enforcement. The jury found, to a moral certainty, that the defendant killed Colleen Ritzer and that he was criminally responsible for her murder. The court will impose a sentence in this case without emotion, passion, sympathy, or pity. But one cannot see and hear what this court has during the course of this case without feeling that the crashing waves of this tragedy will never wane. There is no, quote, right, end quote, sentence. No amount of prison time would ever be enough to be commensurate with this crime, and no math will ever erase the reality that this crime was committed by a 14-year-old boy. While this court is constitutionally required to consider that there is always the possibility of redemption, even if the defendant were to live a perfect life from this moment on, his repeated stab wounds to Colleen Ritzer's young body will remain indelible with Colleen Ritzer's family, friends, and community until the last person who knew Colleen Ritzer takes his or her last breath.
And that's today's 10-Minute Murder, the brief and bingeable true crime podcast. One additional note on 14-year-old Philip Chisholm. After he killed Miss Ritzer and was in the juvenile detention center, he tried to do the same thing again there. He followed a female detention center employee into the restroom and attacked her, trying to strangle and rape her. Her screams were heard and she got help before he could kill again. Before you go, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss any episodes in the future. And you'll get them as soon as I make them. Rate and review on Apple Podcasts if you enjoy the podcast as well. Follow on social media wherever you spend the most time. And of course, you can share 10-Minute Murder with any of your friends that you think might be into a true crime podcast like this one. Thanks for listening. Have a good night.